In this tutorial, you will learn advanced camera setting for creating handheld camera effect and also abstract sci-fi texture, which I have promised you in my previous tutorial. If you have not watched this tutorial yet, watch it after this. You will learn many important things from this tutorial. Delete cube and point light. Then add cylinder by pressing Shift A. Select nothing in cap fill type. Then rotate it in Y rotation and increase its depth and reduce its vertex. Then press 3 to make the cylinder visible. Press 5. After pressing number 3, select the rotation tool and rotate the cylinder little bit. Then again select the cursor tool. Press 3 for side view, then press Ctrl Alt 0 to set your camera to the view. Select the camera and adjust its X location, or we will set it later in the tutorial. Press 3, and to make the cylinder visible you can also add solidify modifier. Then go to edit mode by pressing tab key. Go to the wireframe. Solidify is creating more geometry to the object, which is not required for now. So disable it or remove it. Select the top two vertex of the cylinder and make sure you are in wireframe mode. Then in resize, adjust the value of X, Y and Z scale. I just want to increase the Y scale of this cylinder. Similarly, select the bottom two vertex of cylinder and scale it exactly like the same value as the upper part. Now select the side two vertex of the cylinder and adjust its Y value, Y scale. Similarly, do it with the opposite side also. You can even move each vertex one by one to make some different shape or make it more broader, but I will go with this shape. After finalizing your shape, click A to select everything, then apply subdivision to it. I apply only two cuts because of the texture we will create further in the tutorial. Come back to object mode by pressing tab key and select this solid view. Then go to edit preferences, then add on and search DIS and enable this option. Then press Shift A, mesh and select this combo later and then click OK on it. This will create some texture towards the outside of the cylinder, and if you want this texture towards the inner side, then make the maximum height and minimum height value towards the negative side. You can also play with maximum and minimum taper, but I will leave it as it is. Now play with the option 1, 2 and 3, making them disable, then enable and checking which options are best for your scene. After finalizing it, make a duplicate of it by pressing Shift D. Then go to edit mode by pressing tab key. Press I and move your mouse to insert the faces. Then in the menu, enable individual. Then adjust your thickness if required. Then select the face select mode and press Ctrl I to invert the selection and click X and delete the faces. Then press A and apply subdivision to it. You have to play with number of cuts because for some scene more number of cuts is required and for some less number of cuts are required, but for now I am applying only 4. Then go to edge select mode, then press A twice to deselect everything and go to select randomness. This will select some random edges. Then press Ctrl B and bevel it little bit. Then press X and delete it. One more time repeat the process. Come back to object mode by pressing tab key and add solidify to it. Now when you move the thickness towards the negative side, only one portion of the cylinder will get affected. So increase the thickness towards the negative side, then again select the discombobulator mesh and make a duplicate of it and make the thickness value towards the positive side. This will make both positive and negative side visible of the texture. If you are satisfied with your texture, then it is not needed to follow me, but I will make one more duplicate of it by pressing Shift D, then hiding the other two and go to edit mode by pressing tab key, then again press I to insert the faces, then enable face select mode and press Ctrl I to invert the selection and press X faces to delete it. Then click A to select everything and apply subdivision to it. Give a number of cuts around 4. Then press A twice to deselect everything. Then go to select and select randomness. Then click X and delete the faces. Repeat this process 2 more times and delete the faces. After that, come back to object mode by pressing tab key and add solidify modifier. Hide the previous two discombobulator and move the thickness value towards the negative side. Similarly as previous, make one more duplicate of it and this time make the thickness exactly same but in the positive side. Hide all the 4 discombobulator and select the first one because I will make one more duplicate of it by pressing Shift D. Then go to edit mode, press I and insert the faces, then click Ctrl I to invert the faces and click X faces to delete it. Then press A to select everything and apply subdivision and this time increase the number of cut around 8. Then press A twice to deselect everything. Go to select randomness and delete the faces by pressing X and faces. Repeat this process 4-5 times. Then come back to object mode by pressing tab key and apply solidify to it. Then unhide all the other discombobulator and move the thickness toward the negative side, as we have done previously also. Select the discombobulator and make a duplicate of it and this time make the thickness to the positive side. If you like it, then continue with it, or you can delete some discombobulator if required. You will get the blend file, videos and images on Patreon, so support me on Patreon at any level. If my tutorial are helping you and you want me to continue uploading tutorials, because without financial support it is hard to create content. Currently I have only one Patreon member and his name is Nick, and I am very thankful to him for supporting. Press 0 for the camera view, then select the camera and go to the camera setting and decrease the focal length. Then play with X location so that the camera look like it is inside the spaceship or tunnel. Hide the camera if it is unhidden. Then press A to select everything, then M and create a new collection. We will make endless number of tunnel with this. Press 7 for top view, then press Shift A, go to collection instance and select the collection. Now enable the move tool and move the collection just behind the previous one by pressing and holding Ctrl key. Now select the collection and make a duplicate of it by pressing Shift D and set it just behind the previous one. Similarly, make one more duplicate by pressing Shift D and set it. Now select all the 3 collection, make a duplicate by pressing Shift D and set it just behind the last one. Press the periodic key to make this part as a center of the scene, then make as many as duplicate you want for your scene. Now we will set 3 light source to the top side of the spaceship or tunnel, whatever you say. For lighting, we will add cube and reduce its scale value by clicking S. Move it forward in the x-axis where you want to set it. Move the cube in the z-axis towards the upper side because we want to set the light in the upper part of the tunnel. Play with its scale value and z location so that it look good. we will do little bit modeling with the light. For that, go to edit mode by pressing tab key, then go to wireframe and face select mode and select the left part of the cube. The cube is little bit thicker in x-axis, so reduce the x scale value. Now select the left portion of the cube, then press E, then extrude it little bit, then press R to rotate the face and rotate it, then again press E and extrude it. If there is any mistake, then press Ctrl Z to undo it, and then again rotate it little bit more and press E, then extrude it. Do the same thing with the right part. Select it, then extrude it little bit by pressing E key, then rotate it by pressing R key, then again extrude it little bit by pressing E key. If you are satisfied, then press A to select everything, then go to material property, then add a material, then go to solid view and select the portion where you want to glow your light. For that, I am selecting bottom part of the cube, so select them one by one by pressing and holding shift key. Then again in material property, add a material by pressing plus key, then new material. Then click assign to assign this material only to the part which you are currently selected. Then change the principal BSDF to emission and increase its strength. Then go to render view and see whether it is working or not. Then come back to object mode. I want this light to move little bit more forward, so move it in X location. Then make a duplicate of it by pressing Shift D, then press X to only move it in X axis and set it to the position where you want, and make one more duplicate of it and set it to the position where you want. Now what if we want to set this 3 light to the entire tunnel or spaceship? It is very difficult or time taking to set the 3 lights one by one. For that, select all the 3 lights by pressing and holding shift key one by one, then press M and select the collection which you have created earlier. This will automatically set lights as it is set in the first tunnel to the entire tunnel. Similarly, we want to add 2 more light to the bottom part of the tunnel. For that, add a cylinder, then reduce its radius and rotate it in y-axis. Adjust it in x and y location. Its size must be equal to the size of first tunnel. After selecting the position, make a duplicate of it by pressing Shift D and set it just opposite to it. Now again we want to set these 2 lights to the entire tunnel. For that, select both the tunnel by pressing and holding Shift key, then press M and select the collection which we have created. Then go to materials property and apply a emission material to it and rename it. Also increase the strength, then select the other bottom light and apply the same material to it. Make the world completely black. Add a point light and adjust it in x-axis near the camera. Unhide the camera and go to the camera property, then go to viewport display and increase passport so that your focus must be within the camera view. Then select the point light and adjust its location if required. Then go to light setting and increase radius to make the point light little bit softer. Add one more point light and increase its radius also. Set it at the end of first tunnel and the start of second tunnel. We want to set this light to the entire tunnel. For that, select the light, then press M and select the collection. After that, we want the first light to move along with the camera. For that, select the camera, then select the point light by pressing and holding shift key, then press P and select object. This will parent camera with point light, and as the camera move, the point light move along with it. Now we will add animation to the camera. For that, select the camera and add frame 1, enter keyframe in location X, then go to frame 25 and move it little bit, then again enter keyframe, then go to last frame and move it rapidly in X-axis and enter keyframe. At frame 100, I want to add zoom effect. For that, go to frame 100, then go to camera setting and enter keyframe in focal length. Then move to frame 120 or 125. Increase the focal length around 140 to 150. Then again enter keyframe. Wait, it is not over yet. Go to object property again and at frame 1 enter keyframe in rotation. Then go to animation and change the left screen to graph editor. Press N over there and go to modifier. Click object transform menu in the left side. Here we do not have to play with the X location. We will play with X, Y and Z rotation and focal length. Select X rotation and in modifiers select noise. Create some more space and click normalize over the top side. This is making the scene extreme, so we have to play with the scale and the strength value, and this is depend on your preference, what you like, so play with it. At the upper side, one is for copy and one is for paste. Click the copy, then go to Y rotation and paste it. Similarly, go to Z rotation and again paste it. Now play your animation and see whether it is looking good or not. Select the focal length and apply noise to it also, and play with the scale and strength value. For focal length, we just want the animation between 100 to 125. For that, enable restrict frame range and open it, and at start frame enter 100 and at end frame enter 125. This will restrict the effect between this frame rate only. Now play with the scale and strength value for best result. Now come back to the layout and we will apply material to the scene. Select the first discombobulate mesh and apply principal BSDF in material property. Then select your color and increase metallic. Select the second combobulate mesh and apply a new material. Then select your color. Remember this name because we will apply the same material to the third mesh because as it is a part of it. Select the fourth one and apply a new material. Select your color and increase the metallic. Remember this name and apply the same material to the fifth one. Select the sixth mesh and apply a new material. Select your color and increase the metallic half. Then again apply the same material to the seventh one. You can play with the material as your preference. A color to the bottom light and play with the strength. These are looking dull because we have to go to the render property and enable all the three options. Now look, it is looking good. Now select the upper light and apply a color to it and play with the strength value. Select the upper light base material and change it to material 001, which you have applied to first discombobulate mesh, so that light will look like a part of the tunnel. Do the same process with the second and third light also. To play with the values of first point light which you have attached with the camera, go to the camera and click the arrow, then select point light and play with the power or color whatever you want. Move the bottom light little bit more downward in Z axis so that it will look like it is coming from the floor. Now let's add a floor to it also. For that, add a plane, move it downward in Z location. Play with its Y and X scale. Scale it 5 in the X scale and play with Y value so that it will not cover the light in the bottom. I want to set it to the entire tunnel. For that, select the floor, press M and select the collection. Now apply a material to it and select glossy BSDF. Then reduce the roughness completely. Then go to setting tab because we will add more detail to the floor. Add mix shader in between. Then add wave texture and connect it with mix shader. Then add a color wrap. Play with its black and white portion. Change wave texture sign to show and increase the detail. Play with the scale value also to check what looks good. There is even one more loop. For that, change X to Y. Choose whatever you like. I am going with X. Go to layout and check and play your animation to see everything is correct or not. Go to render property and enable motion blur. Then decrease shutter little bit. Then go to color management and in look check what is looking good. High contrast, medium high contrast, and when everything is correct, then go to output property and follow the steps to save your animation as video format.